Paul Wilson, and as the other great Paul said, I am a mindset coach. And one of the things I kind of specialize in is helping people with what I call the devil's triangle. Ooh, scary. And basically the devil's triangle is just a way for me to talk about the symptoms of imposter syndrome. So you've got down one side, you've got procrastination. Down the other side of the triangle, you've got perfectionism. And then across the bottom, you've got paralysis or overwhelm. And then inside the triangle, you've got things like fear of failure, fear of success, fear of standing out, and all that kind of good stuff. Now, first of all, let's agree, or let's discuss what is imposter syndrome. To me, imposter syndrome is a disconnect between this, which is your skills, your expertise, your experience, all of that stuff that you fought for and won and worked for over the years, and this, the thing you're looking to achieve. And that disconnect in between is something that is actually stopping you from moving forward. And like I say, it can be anything from procrastination through to overwhelm. Now, when I talk about procrastination, I'm not talking about the kind of procrastination where you've had your dinner and you're in the kitchen and you're looking at the dishes and you go, I'll leave them till tomorrow. I'm not talking about that kind of procrastination. What I'm talking about is the level of procrastination where you know you've got 20 calls to make to potential clients, or you should be writing that email to your client list, those kind of things. And instead of doing that, what you do is you get busy doing busy work, stuff that isn't directly related to helping you progress your business. So for example, you could be tidying your desk. You could be checking your Facebook just in case, somebody's sending you a message. And we know full well what we're doing is we're scrolling through to distract ourselves, because we've all done it. And it stops us from moving forward. Now, the best way I can highlight this is by giving you some stories from my clients that I've worked with. There was one client that I worked with, and she'd been in corporate for, 10, 15 years, had stopped to raise a family, and was now at that stage where she wanted to get back into things again. And she didn't want to go back into the corporate world because she felt it was too toxic. Her boss was one of these kind of slave driver bosses that expected her to be available 24/7, who would send her emails at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night and expect a response within 3 or 4 hours, all that kind of rubbish. And she didn't want to go back to that. And she wanted to start off her own thing because she'd been in sales and marketing for a long time. She was an expert in that field, and she wanted to become like a consultant. And she'd built the website, and she'd got all the, the business cards, all that kind of stuff ready to go. And she started, she had a launch date for the 1st of June. The 1st of June came and went, no launch. 1st of July, new launch date, came and went, nothing happened, no launch. And then I think it was the 1st of August, there was a third launch date, nothing happened. So she got in contact with me, we had a chat and said, right, okay, why have you had 3 launch dates and nothing's happened? When she said to me, Paul, well, look, the first one back in June, I was about to hit the go button and I checked the website for the last time. I looked on the homepage and there was a piece of text on the right-hand side of the page that was just slightly out of alignment and it didn't look right, so I couldn't launch, I had to get that fixed. Okay, fair enough. What happened the second time? So the second time, Paul, there was a photograph of me on the bio page and I checked it and there was some stuff in the background that I couldn't accept. So I had to get a new photograph taken. Right, okay. What happened for the third launch? Well, Paul, I'd got this set of emails prepared and ready to go. And I noticed that in one of the emails, there were some typos. And very quickly, as you can see, this client, she was a perfectionist. Everything had to be 110% perfect before she could launch anything. And we did the work together and we tried to establish where this was all coming from, because I firmly believe that the devil's triangle, they're the symptoms of imposter syndrome, and you have to kind of follow the streams back. Imagine you're an explorer in the 19th century and you found this river and you want to kind of follow it back to the source and find out where it starts from. This is the kind of thing that I do. I start with the symptom and work my way back with the client to find out what the source was. And with this particular client, it turns out that she had her father on a pedestal. He was the most perfect dad ever. And I think he was a senior VP for some massive company, traveled around the world, made millions and millions of dollars, all this kind of stuff, yeah. But he was a really, really tough father. And she told me that one day she'd come home from work, dad was on his flight back from somewhere around the world for a very short stay at home. And she had a report card in her hand, really chuffed, really happy. She wanted to show dad this report card. She goes, Dad, look at my report card, look at my report card. Dad takes the report card and goes, A, B, A. And he looked at my client and went, I'm really disappointed. You got a B. And then he mentioned the name of a colleague's daughter, and he went, she got straight A's. What am I going to tell him? You know, you've really let me down, and you've let yourself down by getting this B. You know, what's going on? My client was devastated, absolutely devastated, because like I said, she'd put this guy on a pedestal and he was God in her world. And to be told that he was disappointed just meant that she had to do better and she had to make everything absolutely perfect. And so she went and got straight A's, went to university, got, I don't know, a first in some degree or other, and then started the corporate world, rose very, very quickly to the top of the echelon, and then had the break and wanted to go back into business. And she hadn't realized that what was stopping her was this belief that her father was on the pedestal and she had to be perfect. So we did the research, we did the work, and once we found out what that root cause was, which was this one tiny stupid little incident back 15, 20 years before, maybe even longer, we eliminated all of the baggage and all of the stuff associated with this one event, the feelings of having to be perfect. And I got her into a situation where she actually launched the very next day. It wasn't even like the first of the month or like the 10th or the 15th. It was, I don't know, the 14th or the 13th. She launched it, and her business now is flying, doing really, really well. Simply because the imposter syndrome of this having to be perfect had held her back. It's such a silly thing. And most of the things that you will find with yourself and with other people, when you follow it back, it is such a ridiculously small little thing, insignificant. Overwhelm is another good one. A lot of the time we want to do something and we think, oh my God, I've got to send the emails out, I've got to make the calls, I've got to get the website ready, I've got to do this content, I've got to have some photos done, I've got to get this, got to get that, and got the other. And you build this mountain of stuff that you think you have to do, and then you stop and it doesn't get done because there's just too much, and you start to feel really kind of like being pushed down and being held under because there's all this stuff and it's just pushing you down and making you smaller and smaller and smaller because it's just too much to do. I can't do it all. I just can't do it all. I'm just going to start. I just can't do it. I'm not going to start. I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back and do something else. It's just, there's too much to do. People build these mountains because they look at everything as having to have been done now. How many people here, I can't see you all because a lot of you are hiding behind your names. How many people here have a to-do list with more than 10 items on it or 20 items? I bet there's a lot of people watching now that have a to-do list that just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I've got a question for you. If you have one of these ginormous to-do lists, how on earth do you expect to get any of that done or all of that done? And I bet as you're going through your to-do list and ticking things off, you're adding stuff onto the bottom. All that does is it creates this massive feeling of having too much to do, and you're never, ever, ever going to get it done. And you're never going to get it done because I know people say we can multitask, but they've done research. We can't multitask. Yeah, okay, you can listen to music while you're doing the hoovering or washing the dishes like I do or going for a walk. You can do that kind of multitasking, but you can't do anything where you need to have your direct focus on one thing at a time. And so we just say to ourselves, like, there's just too much to do and I can't do it. I'm just not going to do it. And so many people that would love to start, say, a side hustle never actually get to start them because they just think, there's just too much to do. They just get overwhelmed by all the stuff they read on social media, all of the gurus that say, well, you've got to do this, you've got to pay for ads, you've got to do organic, you've got to post 15 times a day on Facebook, you've got to post 4 times a day on LinkedIn, you've got to go on TikTok and make a fool of yourself, you've got to go onto Instagram and make yourself all pretty and smiley, and you've got to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Nobody on this planet on their own can do all of that at once. It's just not physically possible. You can't do it. But we start to believe that we have to do all of this stuff. And then when we start to believe we have to do it all, we don't do any of it. It just becomes too much. So what I suggest to my clients is that you get rid of the to-do list. What you do is you get yourself a notebook, and then every Sunday afternoon, you dedicate an hour and you sit down and you do a brain dump. And you put everything down in your notebook that you're thinking about. So personal, business, health, all that kind of stuff. And you put it down in there, and then you go through it and you make a list and you number 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1 is urgent and important. So for example, say this was the last week of December and you haven't got your tax in yet, then that is urgent and important. That needs to be done as soon as possible. So that's the number 1. A number 2 is important, but it's not urgent. Like, for example, I need to make an appointment with a dentist, so I'll do that and make an appointment. Number 3, it's not urgent and it's not important, but it's something that I need to think about doing. So that can go on the list next week or the week after. Anything that's a number 4, forget it. You either delegate it or you don't do it, you ditch it. And then what you do every single day is you have a to-do list of a maximum of 3 number 1s. That's it. 3 things. And the reason why I say 3 things is 3 things are easy to achieve. If you've got to make 10 phone calls, you can make 10 phone calls in a day. If you've got to write an email, you can write the email. And if you've got to get your tax done, well, your tax can get done. So those 3 things can be done in one day. This will give you a massive sense of achievement. So rather than having a list that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and you just feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this done. And you feel depressed and, you know, negative feelings and all this, and it drains your energy. Having a tiny list of 3 number 1 items on there, which you know you can get done in a day or even half a day sometimes, at the end of the day, go, oh, wow, that's great. I feel really good. I've got those things done. And now that leaves me time to go for a walk, go to the gym, whatever, or I might actually do a couple of those number 2 things because I've got the time. So we have that sense of accomplishment. We've done that thing. One of the biggest things that imposter syndrome does, it stops us moving forward. It stops us from growing and building and becoming better people, getting from good to great. We get stuck at being good or average sometimes because we just feel that we're not worth it. We don't deserve it. You know, I've tried to go online, Paul, and I'm just really worried that all these people are going to, you know, stand up and start pointing their finger and going, she knows nothing. She's been out of the game too long. You know, she's not up with all the latest tech. And, you know, we let ourselves get defeated by these imaginary legions of people that are waiting there to pounce on us as soon as we start to do something. And this is the imposter syndrome, clear and pure and simple. These beliefs that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve, that you haven't done enough, that you're not working hard enough, and you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do the other. All of it stems from things that have happened in the past, beliefs that we've picked up. I believe that we are born into a bubble of beliefs. Yeah, and that bubble is like one of those soap bubbles. You know, when you were a kid, you'd buy a little jar or a little bottle like this and a stick with a ring on it, and you'd dip it in and you'd blow it and you'd get some really lovely soap bubbles, and you could prick it with your finger so it's really soft and pliable and flexible. So when we're young, we are absorbing all of the beliefs from our parents and our siblings and any aunties, uncles, and visitors, whether, you know, being good, being bad, being rich, being poor, being fit, being unhealthy, smoking's good, smoking's bad, all of those kind of things that we learn when we're young. And then as we go to school, we start to expand our bubble and start to take on more beliefs from teachers and other classmates and other people around the world. And as we get older, that bubble that was flexible and soft and pliable starts to become rigid, kind of like bulletproof plexiglass. so that anything that counteracts our beliefs just can't get inside anymore. And it's just like, it's a digress, like I think racism comes from our bubble of beliefs. Nobody's born a racist. We become racist if we're born into a family of racists, yeah? So if our family have very negative views about people from other cultures of different colors, all this kind of thing, then it's natural that you are going to have those same beliefs and thoughts and feelings as well. And it's only until you get out into the world, maybe you go to university or maybe you start traveling, you start to meet people from different cultures and different lifestyles and different ways of living, that you start to realize that they're just like you. They're human, 2 eyes, 2 noses, a mouth, 2 arms, 2 legs. And it's just this that's very slightly different, a few millimeters, not even a few millimeters, probably less than that. But it becomes harder and harder and harder to actually get those new beliefs in. So when you're young, if your parents have said, no, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't become rich because rich people are evil, money is evil. We had, this rich Uncle Fred and he never lent us a penny. And we build up all these negative beliefs from what we're told. And you become a grown up and you get into the world, you want to start a business and you realize that you get to a certain level and you can't progress above that level because of you don't know this, but it's because of all these beliefs that you were given that were implanted in you into your bubble when you were a child. Like, for example, money is evil. I grew up on a council estate and social housing. My parents worked, but we weren't very, very wealthy at all. And I was told quite often that, people who get rich are just greedy, money is the root of all evil, and all these kind of negative connotations around money. And so I had a very hard time for a long time trying to hold on to any kind of financial success until I realized where it was coming from and dealt with it. I had another client who started a business and had a goal of becoming a 6-figure business, making 100,000 a year or something like that. But she could never get above making 2 or 3 grand a month. And no matter how hard she worked, no matter what she did, she could not get above that figure. And she came to me and said, Paul, look, I need help. I'm stuck and I don't know what's going on. So we did the work and we found out 2 things. First of all, we found out that her family had quite negative, negative views around money, but also they both had a business. They both worked in the same family business, and that business went bust. And my client recalled the bailiffs coming around. This is in the years when bailiffs did this kind of thing, and the bailiffs taking everything. And one thing they took was her brand new pink bicycle. And what had happened was, in her subconscious mind, my client had associated asking for this bicycle for Christmas with the bailiffs coming around and the business failing. So it was her fault. Her fault that the parents' business failed and the bailiffs coming around and taking everything out of the house because she'd asked for a bicycle. And we did a bit more work and we just found out that she felt responsible because she was the only child and her parents had kind of spoiled her and given her all this stuff and the bicycle and everything else, and she didn't deserve any more. Didn't deserve it, didn't merit it. She'd been spoiled as a child and that was enough, that she didn't deserve any more. And all of the negative feelings associated with getting this bicycle and the memories of going through that really horrible, thing of the bailiffs coming around and the bankruptcy and the family arguments and all this kind of stuff had built this massive series of baggage around these events so that the client, she couldn't move forward above that level because she didn't deserve it. She didn't merit it. And once we'd found this out and we did the work to release all of that negative baggage, this glass ceiling that she kind of created for herself just disappeared. And I think now she's sort of 4.5, 5 figures a month on a regular basis, simply because of letting go of all of that baggage and reconnecting. Because this is what imposter syndrome does. It creates this barrier of all of your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your experience. It kind of puts that away and you forget that you've got them almost when you're trying to do this new thing. And how can I put it? it becomes like a brick wall between you and your skills and the thing you want to do. And oftentimes you don't know what it is. You don't know what this barrier is. You kind of know it's there because you keep butting up against it, but you can't figure out what's going on. Another one that I deal with quite a lot, and I'm doing a thing next week about this, is going live. If you're in business, particularly if you're working for yourself, and you know that we need to, not we need to, but it's great if we can go live on places like Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and places like that. Excuse me, dry throat. Because it helps people get to know us, helps people get to like us, help people get to trust us. But a lot of people that I've worked with have said, Paul, I just can't go live. Why not? What's wrong? What's the difficulty? If you've got one of these, it's easy to go live, 4 buttons to press and you're talking to the world kind of thing. I can't go live, Paul. Why not? Well, because if I go live, they're going to know. Okay. Who's going to know? They're going to know. What are they going to know? That I don't really know anything, that I'm not that good, that I've had a break and I'm not up to date with all the tech and all this kind of stuff, and that I'm a bit of a fake, and that I don't deserve to be out there helping people. And we dig a bit deeper and it's like, okay, who are all these people who are waiting? And it turns out that they don't know. They've given themselves this impression that as soon as they go live, there's going to be 100,000 people that are suddenly just sitting there, minding their own business, waiting for Kate or Michelle or for Sue to go live, and they're going to suddenly pounce on her stream and start sending all these reams of abuse and pointing the finger at saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Why on earth are you talking about this when you've got no idea? And the truth of the matter is, and I had to say this to my guys, it makes me smile every single time, is that when you go live for the first few times, you're lucky if you've got your mum, your mum's cat, your mum's cat's best friend, and a budgie watching your first few lives. There aren't these hordes of people waiting to jump onto your live and to criticize you and to tell you you're not good enough, that you don't know what you're talking about. It's a fiction that we build up around the idea that we don't know what we're talking about. That's what this disconnect again. Yeah, you fought tooth and nail for years to gain that knowledge, to gain that experience, to get those certifications. But for some reason, we kind of forget them momentarily, and it stops us, particularly if you've had a break. And this is why if this kind of imposter syndrome affects women a lot more than it does guys. Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, talks about this an awful lot, that she goes through periods of having imposter syndrome where she just feels like she's just not deserving and not worthy of moving forward with her life. There is an author, Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou is an activist, an author, and a speaker. And I think she's written in excess of 11 books, 11 best-selling books. And she did an article recently. It was really funny because she said, I still feel like a fake. I know I've written 11 books. I know of the best-selling books. I know I'm known around the world. But there comes a time when I'm sitting there trying to do this thing and I can't do it because I still feel like a fake. I still feel like people are going to point the finger at me and go, Maya, what are you doing? Why are you even thinking about writing another book? You don't know what you're talking about. And this comes from a woman who's renowned around the world. She's written 11 best-selling books, and she still gets these feelings of being an imposter and a fake in her life. So I've got a couple of suggestions for you, which are very simple. All they do is they'll cost you a notebook and a pen. And this is a really good way to reconnect with your knowledge, your skills, your expertise, and your experience. And this is a continuing, ongoing exercise. You get a notebook and a pen, and I want you to start listing down every single achievement you have ever done in your entire life, every single one. So going right the way back. So if you're in the Boy Scouts or the Girl Guide, merit badges, school prizes, your exams at school, if you went to university, got a degree, your first boyfriend, your first girlfriend, your passing your driving test, passing your motorbike test, all the qualifications you've got at work, all of the experience, all of the skills, every single thing that you have achieved in your life. I want you to start writing that down. And every single day, spend time adding to this list continuously. Why? Because when you want to do something and you get these feelings of like, I'm an imposter, I don't deserve this, I don't know what I'm talking about, you grab this book and you open it and you read. I've got a degree in economics. I was sales and marketing director for this company for 5 years. I ran this charity. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Don't do this on a computer. And I'm not a scientist, but it's been demonstrated that if you use a pen and paper, there's something about that physical act of writing things down on paper which connects with the brain. Yeah, it doesn't work on a computer, but if you put it down on pen and paper and you look at it and you go, God, yeah, I did do this. And yeah, I parachuted for charity and raised £500. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I've free dived. I've snorkeled. I've done this. I've done that. It acts as a living reminder of every single thing you've achieved. And if you look at it in those moments when you're not feeling it, when you think you're a fake, when you want to go live, but you can't go live, just grab that book and just read it for a few minutes. Spend a few minutes wallowing in your success, in the achievements that you have done. And I guarantee you this will work. Your brain will go, bloody hell, I did do that, didn't I? Oh God, yeah, I did that as well. And I remember that. And yeah, that was really hard, but I did it. And if you do this, you start to reconnect. Now, this is not a permanent solution, but it will help you overcome those times when you feel like a bit of a fake and you feel that you can't move forward. It will reconnect. Another thing you can do is, I've lost my J, so I apologize for this, but you get yourself a jar of awesome. Now, this is not my idea. There's a guy called Tim Ferriss, who's a best-selling author, and he's a massive investor in startups. His girlfriend developed this, and it's a jar of awesome. And so basically, every time you do something to help someone else, you get a bit of paper and you write it on there and you stick it in the jar. So the classic example is helping somebody across the road. During COVID, if you do a neighbor's shopping, if you give somebody a lift from A to B, if you help out at a charity, if you call people to check on them if they're okay, every single time you do that, you write it on a bit of paper. And then if you are in a situation where you're feeling a bit like, well, I don't deserve this, I can't do anything, you get out your book and go, I've written on here, guy was grateful to me when his son was sick in the station waiting room. So I was on a train. Well, I wasn't on the train on this. I was waiting for a train. This was a couple of years ago, I think. And there was just me, a guy, and his kid. And the little boy was obviously not well, and he started throwing up all over the place. And instead of having like the disgusted kind of reaction, I got up and offered to help. And I went and got some tissues and towels out of the bathroom and gave them to the guy so he could help his kid and get him cleaned up and stuff, yeah? And he thanked me for it. Now, that's a tiny little insignificant thing, okay? But I wrote it on a bit of paper, stick it in my jar of awesome. So if I have days where I'm not feeling it and I think, God, what if I've not done anything good? I'm hopeless, I'm useless. I can stick my hand in this jar and I can pull out reams of stuff that I've done to help other people. And this is not to be big-headed or anything like that. It's just stuff that you do anyway. Yeah, but all we're doing here is little tiny reminders. And again, this isn't a permanent solution, but it helps you in those moments where you think you're a fake, where you think you don't deserve it, where you think you've done nothing of merit. And it's slightly different. This is your achievements, the things that you've done, your awards, your experience, all that kind of stuff. The jar is for things that you've done to help other people. There's two distinct different tools. Another thing you can do, and this is a bit of a fun one, but you have to kind of remember to do this. If you're out having a fantastic time, if you wake up and you feel like you're on top of the world and you're feeling really, really amazing, you're just having these good, if you just work with a client and the client's just thanked you, if you just had a testimonial, at a moment when you're feeling really, really good, I want you to take a selfie. Yeah. Not one of these up like here kind of things, but I want to take a selfie of your face. And the reason why is, again, if you're in a situation one day where you're not feeling it and you're feeling low and you're feeling hopeless and you're feeling disconnected from all that stuff, yeah, you can grab your phone, you can find that picture, and you'll be glowing, you'll be smiling, you'll be happy, and it will instantly connect. Bloody hell, that's me. Yeah, I remember that. That was when I helped that client and she got amazing results, or that was just after X, Y, or Z event. And look at me, yeah, I'm gorgeous. I was brilliant. And again, it's just another little simple tool to get your brain to reconnect with you in a powerful, energetic spirit, for want of a better phrase. These are all tiny little things that you can do at zero cost. You can do them at any time that will help you in moments when you get these feelings of imposter syndrome. That imposter starts kicking in. Now, I've got a question for you. What is the function of your brain? If you put some, a couple of one-liners in the chat here, what is the function of the brain? Just while I have a slurp of my coffee. So one person said surviving. So any other suggestions of what the function of our brain? Growing, that's another one, yeah? And this will surprise you. Let's have one more. Go on, one more guess as to what our function of the brain is, or what our brain's function is. The sole purpose, think and learn. So we've got surviving, growing, regulating the body, think and learn. Right, okay, this might surprise you. Our brain's sole function is to keep us alive, to keep us alive. Now, what we need to be mindful of when we think about that is that our society has evolved far quicker than we have. We have built, we have access to the world's knowledge, the world's entire knowledge in one of these things. We've put people on the moon. We've got thousands of satellites. We've got advances in medicine that keep us alive for a lot longer now. And we can heal things and cure things and fix things. But we still believe that there's a saber-toothed tiger hidden behind every bush. Fight, flight, or freeze. Those are still three very, very strong emotions. And if you think about it, most of us, particularly in the Western world, we are very, very unlikely to come across a situation where we need to either fight or run or freeze to pretend we're not there. But our body still believes that this what happens, what we need to do, which is why you call it that nagging little voice, you call it that imposter. It's actually not there trying to hurt you. It's not there deliberately trying to hold you back. That little voice is actually there to protect you. Let me give you a story from my own lifestyle. Not lifestyle, but from my own life. 2002, I was working in corporate. I was a health and safety manager. And my boss came up with a massive stack of stuff one day and go, this is all by a guy called Professor Reason. It's about behavioral safety. Paul, put together a presentation in 2 weeks' time because your directors, your peers, your colleagues, and your team need to know about this. Off you go. Now, bear in mind, I'd never done a presentation. I was not interested in public speaking. I knew nothing about behavioral safety, and I didn't know anything about PowerPoint. I knew nothing, okay? I made every single mistake in the book when it comes to doing presentations. So come the day, there's a room that's built for about 16 people. There's about 40 in there. My peers, my directors, team members, and some people that I'm very, very close to in the business world. I've made every single mistake in the book when it comes to PowerPoint presentations. I've got about 1 million slides, and each slide has got probably 100,000 words, death by PowerPoint in big emblazoned letters. I'm wearing, where is it? Oh, there you go. I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, which is that kind of color, this pale kind of green. When I get nervous, I get very, very warm. So within 5 minutes of just starting this presentation, the shirt was black. It was this color. I was pouring with sweat. I was shivering. I was shaking. I had my back to the audience. I couldn't just not face them. And I was staring at the slides and I was reading from the slides. It was awful. It was terrible. The worst thing about it was that the people in the audience were pretending like nothing was going wrong. Instead of somebody saying, Paul, just go take a break, mate, you know, get yourself sorted out. But no. And after about 20 minutes, my boss kind of intervened, said, Paul, I'll take over now. I ran into the gents' toilets, and I'm, you know, not ashamed to say I cried. I cried because I felt so awful and so bad. I felt about this big, yeah, because it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me in business. I just thought, God, how can I face any of these people ever again? And my subconscious mind wanted to protect me. And so for the next 6 years, I stayed away from every opportunity to present, to do a presentation, to stand up on stage, to, you know, give my views. Even in meetings, I wouldn't talk in meetings because this thing had built up, you know, this huge, my subconscious wanted me to be protected. It didn't want me to go through that again. And so I didn't do it until we had this major incident at work, which I was heavily involved in just before it happened, whilst it was happened, and then afterwards or post event, I was involved in all the debrief meetings and writing reports, all that kind of thing. I was invited by the chief fire officer to do a presentation about this event at the Kent Resilience Forum. It's basically where all the emergency services and organizations involved in events get together to talk about learning points. Initially, I said no, but he was such a nice guy. He was very persistent. Said, Paul, look, you've got an in-depth knowledge about this, and we need you there. So I went, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I talked to people. I went on YouTube to find out how to do PowerPoint presentations. I read about going on stage. I knew the information intimately. So I put together a presentation of about 15, 16 slides, all with photographs on, very little bit of text. And I went and did this presentation, had an absolutely amazing time. I was, excuse my language, I was shitting bricks until I actually put my foot on the stage because I was just so nervous. But as soon as I got on the stage, I kind of just went into this different place and started the presentation. And I got a round of applause. People asked questions. And as the back of that, I got invited to do 3 or 4 of these in other parts of the country. And now I actually love getting up on stage. I really enjoy doing live events like this. But my subconscious mind didn't want me to. This is the important point. It built up this huge bag of baggage and negativity around this event that happened to me in 2002, because as far as my subconscious was concerned, I was in mortal danger. There was a saber-toothed tiger about to attack me in 2002 when I did this presentation. So it was protecting me by building all this baggage and stopping me from doing a presentation ever again, because it didn't want me to go through what had happened in 2002. And it took me a lot of work to get over that, but I did. And we can all get over that kind of thing. But that's why we have this nagging little voice. And it's not trying to hurt you. It's not trying to prevent you from doing things deliberately. It's trying to protect you. So my final tip today is that when you have that nagging little voice inside your head, rather than fighting with it and calling it a nagging little voice and calling it your little devil, understand it's actually trying to protect you. It's actually trying to help you. And what has happened is it's now in a situation where it's holding you back. And what we need to do is have a conversation with ourselves and get that little voice to understand that you're a grown-up now, and those things that happened in the past, you're over them. And yeah, they were bad at the time, but now we want them to move forward and to learn and to grow and to expand our business and to help more people. So start to love your little inner voice and work with it. Listen to what it's saying and take it as not criticism, but as help that is kind of misaligned. And what we need to do is to get it to understand that we know what it's trying to do, but we don't need that help anymore. And it's actually holding us back, and it's time to let go. So that's it from me. I've actually gone on a little bit longer than I thought, but I hope you found that useful. Any questions, please fire away. And Paul, if you're around, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm always around, always watching. That was fantastic, Paul. Some great tips and some great advice there. So as Paul has said, if anyone's got any questions, then now's the time. If anyone wants to come off mute, then please do. We'd love to have you. If not, drop us a line in the chat box. In the meantime, Paul, if anyone wants to carry on the conversation with you, how can they reach you?
Right, what I've done is I've just put a link in the chat because on Monday, I'm running a 3-day masterclass completely free on, I've called it Go Live and Get Seen. So many people in business know they need to go live, but as I talked about in the presentation, are scared of going live for lots of different reasons. So I'm going to take people through the process of going live. And it's going to be a fun 3 days. I'm going to set up a little pop-up group on Facebook, and it'll be a fun thing. It'll be lots of laughs, lots of giggles, and we'll get people going live in those 3 days. And if you hit that link, that will take you to a post on Facebook, which kind of tells you about it. And then from that, just message me and I'll put you on the list. And then on Sunday, I'm opening the group and I'll start letting people in.
Fantastic. People are already saying that they're going to join. They're going to join the session already. So that's fantastic. So as I say, if anybody's got any questions, please speak now. Otherwise, you're going to miss your chance. But by the looks of just kind of going through the chat box and what people are saying, they really enjoyed the ideas, and it looks like they've taken a lot on board from what you've said, Paul.
Not a problem. I love talking about this because there are things we can do. If anybody is a bit shy and retiring and doesn't want to kind of broadcast a question on the chat, please feel free to drop me a PM and I'm happy to have a chat with you. You don't have to pay me or anything, just have a conversation. I'll give you some additional tips and strategies that you can use to get over whatever it is that you want to talk to me about.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a fantastic session. I've certainly taken a lot from it, and I can see that the guys from our network have as well. So it's been great to have you on board. And as I can say, with the comments that are coming through on the chat box, they're all speaking very highly of you. So it's been a very, very useful 45 minutes or so. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. I just got to read this one here from Takami. I took a lot of notes. I will speak to my devil from now on. I love that. Brilliant.
Good stuff. Brilliant. And I think we're all left having the same thought. And I think that we're all going to go and have a quiet word with them when they rear their head again soon. So thanks for your time, Paul. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in. We're glad that you found it useful, and as always, thanks for all of your support for the BSN. It's been another great session. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody, and enjoy the weekend ahead.
See you soon. Thanks again,
Thanks,
Paul.
guys.
Bye now.
Bye bye.